All right, welcome back. It truly is the 12 days of Christmas. The 12 days of Nikke for me, really, because we're just getting reveals after reveals. This is great. I also think it's because they finished Kingdom, so they're moving on to Nikke, and then once they finish Nikke, um, they'll probably go back to Chain Soldier, or they might start on the new cards, because I think all of the new Idol Master stuff is also revealed too. But yeah, so starting with yellow, I think apparently it's like the last. There's no more green cards, so it's all gonna be yellow and purple now. Which, unfortunate for green, the green cards were really good, but obviously they could have been better. Um, but yeah, looking at yellow, first we have Anise Sparkling Summer. This is her summer variant in the game. This card is also treated as Anise. If there are no cards in your area, reduce the energy requirement of this card in your hand by 2. On your turn, if you use an event during this turn, this character gets 1000 BP. So this is a 2 cost pseudo zero. She has a get trigger as well. I do like the get trigger kind of because on the chance that you're going second, for example, and you brick, if your opponent attacks you and you get this trigger, great. You now have a 0 to play at least. Hopefully you have another 0 or a 1 or a 2 or whatever. 0 or 1. But yeah, this lets you basically play the game at least if you hit this off of life and you kind of brick your first turn. So kind of cool. It just pissed me off that the Lapras has no trigger and this has a trigger. Why? They didn't give the Lapras a trigger, and she's a pseudo 0, so I don't know why they couldn't give it to her, but they gave it to Anise, so fuck it, whatever. But otherwise, her your turn effect is not that impressive. It just makes her a 3K, so it is what it is. This is still a good card because it's a pseudo 0. Um, next Anise is a 3 cost double gem with no trigger. This card is also treated as Anise. It has step and on play, draw 2, discard 2. So this is the same as the 3 cost that's in volume 1. She's also a 3 cost double gen. The difference is that she has a trigger, this one does not. But this Anise has the on play effect of the raid Anise, because the raid Anise on play lets you draw 2, discard 2 also. Unless you use an event, in which case you draw 3, discard 2. So this is just an outright good Anise. Is it a better Anise? I don't know, because lack of triggers really sucks, but it does let you draw 2, discard 2, so she's probably better in general. I think I would still run the other Anise also, just because it's another double gen, but I mean, it's kind of your choice. You can just go one or the other at this point. And again, it's also treated as Anise, so you can still raid over either one of them. And now we move on to the new Red Hood cards. This is one of the new yellow builds, the other one being Old Tails. We need to see the rest of the Rappy Red Hood cards, but from what I've been told, apparently they're pretty good. I don't know that though. Okay, so Inheritance. This is a 4 cost color trigger. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Place any number of them on top of your deck, and the remaining to the sideline. You may you may play one Rappy with required energy of 2 or less from your sideline to your area active. If you did, that Rappy gets 2500 during this turn, and place this card face down under that Rappy. First off, definitely showing that it's its own build because it's a color trigger, so you can't play this with the neon really. You can, but this is obviously meant to be playing this own build. But this is a really good card. It lets you play a 2 cost or less Rappy active and gives her 2500. You can play the 1 cost Rappy from Volume 1. She's just a draw sideline on play. Or you can play the one that was revealed like over a month ago, where I think she's like a 3K if she has a card underneath it. It also answers the question of how we get cards underneath, because yellow has no cards so far that put cards underneath until now. So this puts your card underneath, makes her a 3K, but I think it's just on your turn. So the face down card aspect is really stupid. I don't know why they even have this at all, but the Rappy active is great. And then looks at top 2 and basically rearrange is just a really good effect. So overall, pretty good card. I'm excited to see the rest of the cards. Now we move on to Old Tails. The rest of the cards are going to be Old Tails. This is Little Mermaid. She's a 3 cost double gen with no trigger. She has Impact Negate on your turn. If you have 3 or more cards in your removal, this character gets 1000 BP. On sideline, place this character to the removal. So this can build up your removal if she dies. She has Impact Negate, which is just great to have in general. On your turn, she becomes a 4K if you have 3 cards or more in your removal. And from the rest of the cards I've seen, they do get to the removal somewhat fast, but yeah, this is just a clear gimmick. It's just removing cards, and then basically your win con is the Cinderella 10 cost or whatever. So here we have Abe, aka Grave, right? This is a 0 cost with a draw trigger. This card is also treated as Grave, which is important because there is a raid that requires Grave as the base. Activate main. and rest turn. It can only be activated if you have 10 or more cards in your removal. Um, place this card to the removal and draw one card. During this turn, reduce the required energy of the next Cinderella with an original required energy of 10 or more you play from your hand by 6. As far as I've seen, there's no other cards that reduce your energy requirement, so this is really the only way so far you have of playing that 10 cost Cinderella. I get it, lore-wise, it obviously makes sense. She created Cinderella, right? But I kind of hate that it relies on this specific card to basically play that other Cinderella. So it's still a card obviously you play a 4 of because this is required to do it. But yeah, it's fine. It does what you need to do in playing the Cinderella. So, and also it's a raid base, so it is what it is. Next card is Grave. This is a 1 cost with no trigger. On play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Old Tails card among them, add it to hand. Place the remaining at the bottom of your deck in any order. If you added the card to your hand, place 1 card from your hand to the removal area. Instant 4 for the deck, obviously. 1, it's a base for Grave. 2, lets you look at top 3. And then grabs any old tails, right? And then 3, it lets you remove a card from your hand. Not sideline, remove, which is really good, obviously, for what the deck wants to do. So, this is just an outright good card. It just sucks that she doesn't have a trigger. So, now we have a 4 cost Grave. This is a 4 cost with an active trigger. On play, if this character is played from your hand, you may pay 1 AP. If you did, draw 1 card. Then you may place 1 Cinderella from your hand to the removal area. If you did, activate that card's trigger effect. So, this is a broken card. This is super fucking good. First of all, granted, it's basically a 4-2 because you're always going to pay that AP. But you play this from hand, pay an AP, you draw a card, and then place a Cinderella from your hand, and then use that trigger effect. Obviously, the idea is to use the 10 cost Cinderella, discard her, especially if you see her early, and then it's just a special. Again, you also use the trigger effect. This is really important ruling-wise because it's not this character using that effect. It's you activating that card's trigger effect. If I'm understanding the ruling right, basically you're using that card's trigger effect. And the important thing to note is that characters, events, sites, and trigger effects are all completely separate from each other. So if a card has protection from character effects, this bypasses it by using that trigger effect, which means the card is not protected by character effects. It's not protected from events. It's protected. It has to be protected from trigger effects, basically, or it has to say cannot be chosen by all abilities or something like that, right? But yes, this is still a very good Grave. Of course, the 10 cost Cinderella is not the only one that exists. There are other Cinderellas that we're about to see that you could use their triggers as well. But it's time to move on to the raid. 4 costs with a raid trigger. On play, place the top 2 cards of your deck to the removal. You may place 1 card from your hand to the removal, which means you could basically put 3 there. If you did, play up to 1 yellow Old Tails card with required energy of 0 or less and AP cost of 1 from your removal to your area rested. So recursion from the removal based on the raid. Granted, you only get 4 of these, so it is what it is. But if it's your turn, which is really important, if it's your turn, for each card in your removal, increase the required energy range of characters you can play with this effect by +1. Hence why you need 10. Because when you have 10 cards in your removal, you can play the Cinderella you remove for free. Basically, this card is going to dump the Cinderella there. And then you're going to raid this over hopefully another Grave or like the Abe or whatever. Raid this, play discard or remove like 2-3 cards, get to 10, and then play that Cinderella for free. And then guess what? On play Cinderella, kill something. It's really that good. The combo would be like, play this, pay an AP to draw, so that's 2 AP, place that Cinderella from your hand to removal, activate that trigger effect so you get special something, and then raid over another Grave, place the 3 cards, 2 cards, whatever. Then if you have 10, play that Cinderella for free, and then use your effect on play to kill something else. So it's a double special. Granted, the whole combo line does cost 3 AP, but it does get your Cinderella out. And she, of course, has that really good effect where if she's on the front line, your opponent cannot choose characters other than Cinderella with any ability. So it's like for frontline protection. She's a kill on play. She'll play active. It's really good. The other thing to remember. So this first off, this card says plays it to rested. However, EN for example, we have a ruling on something like this. It's versus the Clover Kingdom from green Black Clover. The ruling question is if you use the raid and use the effect on attack and then reveal Clover Kingdom, does it play it rested or active? Raid effect says it plays it rested, but Clover Kingdom says it plays active. And so the official ruling is that if you play Clover Kingdom, it doesn't go in rested, it plays active. Granted, in that scenario, it doesn't matter because it's a site that you have to activate. And if it's your opponent's turn, they're attacking, or blah, blah, blah. Or sorry, if it's your turn, you're attacking, then you can't activate anyways. But basically, it's not a replacement effect, so you wouldn't play the Clover Kingdom rested, you would play it active. It would be the same scenario here. Instead of playing it rested, if you play the Cinderella, she comes in active. Because even though it says plays rested, the 10-cost Cinderella says plays active. So basically, you would play the Cinderella and she comes in active. Additionally, if it's your turn, so you can only increase the energy range by +1 if it's your turn. If it's not your turn and you raid her off of your life, you can only play the 0 cost or less, which is technically fine, but it's really shitty because you don't want to play a 0 cost, obviously. You want to play like the bigger bodies. Because again, this plays any old tales. So you can play Another Grave, you can play Cinderella, you can play Little Mermaid, you can play any of the old tales. I say any of the old tales because there's two other characters, well technically three, but there are two other characters as part of the squad, so we'll kind of have to see if they release them in this set. But yes, basically you wouldn't want to use this off of life, you want to use this on your turn. But yes, this is a very, very good raid card, so helps the deck a lot. And now we have Cinderellas. So this is a 2 cost with an active trigger. On play, if you have 3 or more cards in your removal area, draw 1. This is also important because again, this grave can then play this sorry, not there. This grave here can you basically place this Cinderella into your removal, and then you can use her active trigger to plus something by 3k. The versatility options with this grave alone is just really good. Granted, it's only for Cinderella, but you have a good amount of Cinderellas now to use. It's just a special and then an active trigger, which is really nice. Also, just drawing 1 is just really good. The next Cinderella is a 0 cost, and she's a draw trigger, so you can also just choose to draw 2 if you want to. 0 cost with a draw trigger. On play, looks at the top 2, place up to 1 to the removal, place the remaining on top of your deck in any order. It's just a good card. It's a base for the Cinderella raid that we're about to see next, and then it lets you rearrange the top 2 essentially. The main thing that I'm concerned about is why are they so weak? In the lore of the game, she is like one of the strongest characters in the game. So my question is, why did they make her so weak? A 2 cost that's a 2500 really sucks because you just lose to a 1 cost with 2500. And then a 0 cost with 1000, you can't even bypass a 0 cost with 1500. It's really sad. I don't know why they made her so weak. It is what it is, but I think it's really stupid. If it is for balancing purposes, that's a really dumb thing to do because there's no reason to do that. Then we have the Cinderella raid. This is a 4 cost with a raid trigger. On play, choose up to 1 Old Tales on your area, set it to active. Note it says on your area, so it includes your energy line. On sideline, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, place the remaining to the removal. So you could active any Old Tales, which means you can active this Abe here and then use her effect again. You wouldn't really want to because again, you only want to play Cinderella once per turn if you can from your hand, just because you can only use that special hard once per turn. Additionally, you can also active this grade too, so then you can active it and then you just have a 4k attacker for the turn. Obviously, it's a lot to sequence and it requires a lot of action, so you'll need a restand in that scenario. But yeah, the potential is that you can basically get a full front line with high body attackers. The on-side effect is also pretty good. It just adds any card from the top of your 3 cards, and then the rest go to removal. The idea is that you grab like the Cinderella or you grab something else, and hopefully maybe see like the 10-cost Cinderella and just have it in your removal. So overall, these cards are actually really, really interesting. They're playing off of removal, which reminds me of Yu-Gi-Oh, where the banishment basically becomes like an additional resource. I like this deck that's using the removal as a source of play. So it's actually an interesting build. In terms of viability of play, it's still really awkward. Like you can see the tools it has and what it's trying to accomplish. The problem is trying to see all of those tools. Like you need to see the raid grave, you need to see this grave, you definitely need to see the 0 cost ape to even play the 10 costs from your hand. Um, but if not from your hand, at least you have a way to play it for free, basically off of this raid grave. Like the tools are there. It's just the sequencing is really messy if you don't see all your cards. It's one of those decks where it just seems obviously you have to see more cards, but it's one of those decks that seems like it needs to see all of its pieces to accomplish anything, or else it does nothing. So I mean, overall, the cards are still pretty good, all things considered, for an entirely new build. I'm very excited to see the rest of Old Tail cards, if there's any more, and see what they do. But for now, that's all the reveals. We will have more cards coming up. I know they're translating it, and then they will release them in waves. But it should be more yellow cards, because we'll have like Rappies and then Red Hoods also, and maybe stuff for counters. And then we should also see stuff for Exotic as well, which is another yellow build that was put in Volume 1. But yeah, very excited to see what happens with the new cards. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you. Fuck yeah, I might just see you tomorrow because they might just reveal more cards tomorrow. So with that said, I'll see you guys later.